everyone, it's Lindy. It's time for this week's Motivation Monday. I totally had something in my teeth. This week's Motivation Monday is strictly a reminder for all of us to never forget that it is not personal, it's just business, which can be really, really hard for things like accepting returns or even getting neutral or negative feedback. In the very beginning of my reselling journey, I remember how personally I would take it if a buyer wanted to return something, even if it was nothing that I did. It was like getting that return request was like a gut punch. You feel so bad. You take it so personally. But you need to remember, it's not personal. It's just business. There are lots of reasons someone might want to return something. Sometimes they're legitimate reasons, and other times, not so much. But the bottom line is returns are not that big of a deal. If someone wants to return something, just accept it, get it back, and relist it. Maybe it didn't fit. Maybe they changed their mind. Maybe it's not exactly what they thought. Maybe they expected something a whole lot different than what they got. If it's any of those things, just do buyer paid shipping, return shipping, and accept it back, relist it, and be done with it. Now, the only time it kind of makes our blood boil is when it's an item not as described. Yeah, when a buyer opens a case, it says that we did not describe the item accurately, and they receive something completely different. When that happens, the seller is forced to pay return shipping, and that really sucks, and none of us like that, especially if it's nothing that we did. And if we know as a seller that it's nothing that we did, and we think the buyers are just trying to get one over, it happens, but don't take it personally. Just take it as it comes and just move on. It's not personal. In this business, sometimes we have to accept the fact that some people cannot be pleased. And there are lots of people out there, no matter what you do, they're gonna find something to complain about. They cannot be pleased. If you happen to come across somebody like this, and it's a buyer that's extremely difficult, after you've handled the situation, there's something really easy you can do. You can go add them to your blocked buyers list so you don't ever have to deal with them again. They're out there, they exist, but more often than not, buyers are wonderful and they are great for business. There's just a few rotten apples out there, and unfortunately, sometimes we bite into it and it tastes like crap. That shirt was clearly not teal. It was so jade. Capri Sea. Aqueduct. So if somebody opens an item not as described case and you firmly disagree because you don't think that you inaccurately described the item, don't be afraid to call eBay. Let them know your side. There's no telling if you're going to win or not, if it's a sure thing or not, but it's worth a try, especially if you really want to avoid being the one to pay return shipping just because you suspect that the buyer might have just changed their mind. Now let's talk about less than stellar feedback. Everybody wants positive feedback, right? Well, just because you get neutral, don't take it personally. This is something I still do. I still take neutral feedbacks personally, and I'm getting a lot better about it, but I still take them a little bit personal because, you know, we all strive for positive feedback, right? So when we get a neutral and it's something like, you know, for me, one of my neutrals over this last year was that the cup that they bought from me wasn't as big as they expected. And I clearly stated how many ounces the cup was. There was photographs and everything else, but they left me neutral feedback and said the cup wasn't as big as they expected. Was it anything that I did? No. Did I inaccurately describe the item? No. It was just the buyer's point of view. And sometimes we can't help that. There's nothing we can do to fix it. But the one thing to remember about neutral feedback is that it does not hurt your seller feedback ranking. It doesn't hurt the percentage. It doesn't change anything. Your number will just simply stay the same, not go up, not go down. It stays the same. So yeah, you might get a neutral, but don't beat yourself up about it. Sometimes it's nothing that you can do to make it any better. Just be thankful it wasn't a negative. Now, getting a negative feedback on the other hand, mother! If that happens to you, look at what the feedback was. If the feedback is anything that's degrading or not pertaining to the item, if it's just something nasty, call eBay. There's a chance that it can get removed. If you strongly disagree with it, call eBay. Now, I know everybody's going to say eBay is really hard to get a hold of. It's no use. You won't win. But you know what? It's worth a try. Negatives can be detrimental to your eBay account, especially if you don't have much feedback. I speak from experience. If you don't have much feedback and you get hit with one or two negatives, it can really kick you in the butt. So it's worth a try trying to get them gone. If you get lots of transactions every single month and you expect one or two negatives a month, then maybe you're not as worried about it. But for sellers that maybe don't move as much merchandise, one or two negatives can kick you in the rear. So don't be afraid to call eBay if you strongly disagree, especially if the negative feedback was degrading in any kind of way. Call eBay. The big thing to remember is do not take it personally. These buyers don't know us on a personal level. If they're having a bad day, maybe the item arrived and they were expecting something completely different. Who knows? Who knows? It's not necessarily something you did. Everybody reacts to things in a different way. Sometimes people have bad days. Sometimes people just can't be pleased. It's part of the business. It's part of the business sending them things and the possibility of them not liking it. It's just how it is. So to avoid that from happening, there's a few things that you can do to ensure a happy buyer every single time, or at least most of the time. Always make sure to accurately describe your items. If it has some fading on it, note that it has fading in it and try to take as many pictures as possible for any defects, blemishes, rips, stains, anything like that. Just because something isn't perfect doesn't mean that you can't sell it. But if you are going to sell it, you need to disclose everything. Do not worry about disclosing flaws, making buyers not want to buy. I sell things all the time with defects. As long as you notate them, the buyers are aware of them when they buy it. Unless they don't read. And that happens every once in a while. But at least you did your part to try to educate the buyers. Take lots of pictures. And something else that you can do if you're selling something used, almost make it sound worse than it really is. That way, when the buyer receives it, it's better than they expected. You know, if you have a pair of shoes and you see just a couple of scuffs and you think the rest of it looks okay, maybe in the listing put many scuffs from wear. That way when the buyer receives it, if they only see 2 or 3, then they're like, oh, well, these are better than I expected. You know, you never want the buyer to receive something in a worse condition than they felt it was described. Be truthful, be thorough, and disclose everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, I hope you will. And all of my contact information is in the video description. Thank you guys again. I will see you with my next video. Bye!